Good day, everyone. Today we will be dealing with appropriation. Appropriation is the practice of recreating or using of objects and images from a pre-existing artwork with little or no transformation from the original. It has played a significant role in art. In visual arts, appropriation means to properly adapt, borrow, and recycle. Appropriation is very common within the works of modern art. For instance, our previous activity entitled Art Recreation is part of it. Today, we will talk about different types of appropriation, including object, content, style, motif, and subject.
And now, let's have object appropriation. Object appropriation, or otherwise known as tangible appropriation, usually occurs when the possessions of a tangible work of art is transferred from members of one culture to members of another culture. This applies when there is a certain conveyance of artworks from one place to another that can be appraised or precisely identified at an actual or approximate value. Consider, for instance, sculptures and paintings. Both are undeniably tangible, which means that it can be seen or identified using our sense of touch and seeing. It can be passed down from one social unit to another social unit, or it can be transferred from members of one culture to members of another culture. Furthermore, object appropriation actually happens in all instances, like when we travel. For example, if I were to travel to Switzerland and purchase a piece of locally produced tourist art, such as mini sculpture, painting, and the like, I would have engaged in object appropriation because by the time that I bought an art piece, there is a certain conveyance of tangible object. It was being transferred from the real owner or from the maker itself, then right next to me. In addition, object appropriation comes in various forms, like buying an art piece in a museum and receiving an old painting from your parents, grandparents, or friends, or from anyone.
Hi everyone, today let's find out what is content appropriation. What is content in art? It is the meaning or messages that is expressed or communicated by the artist or the artwork. First is the factual meaning. When we say factual meaning, it is the most rudimentary level of meaning, for it may be extracted from the identifiable or recognizable forms in the artwork and understanding how these elements relate to one another. Next is the conventional meaning. It pertains to the acknowledged interpretation of the artwork using motifs, signs, and symbols, and other ciphers as basis of its meaning. Subjective meaning. This meaning stems from the viewers or audience's circumstances that come into play when engaging with art. What we know, what we learned, what we experience, and what values we stand for.
And now, let's proceed to style appropriation. Style appropriation, or also known as design appropriation, occurs when a member of another culture takes the style or a distinctive manner from a culture. Obviously, it takes from one place to another. Example of style appropriation is a foreigner composing an original song in a Kundiman style. We all know that Kundiman style is our traditional way of singing. And so, style appropriation is being applied here since the writer is not local. Another example is the Filipino girl group MNL48, whose style of singing is similar to the Korean girl group Blackpink and Momoland. Style appropriation also applies in sculpture. Let us look at this example. In the left side is the Christ the Redeemer in Brazil, and in the right side is the Christ the Redeemer in La Union, Philippines. We can observe that the design and style in the Christ the Redeemer in Brazil is being imitated and copied in the Christ the Redeemer in San Fernando, La Union. Now, we can say that style appropriation is applicable and can be seen in different forms of art.
Let's proceed to motif appropriation. This form is related to stylistic or style appropriation. Artists are influenced by the art of a culture other than their own, but without creating works in the same style. One best example is Pablo Picasso's artworks. Picasso is a Spanish artist. He was influenced by African carving, but his works are not in African style. Now, try to look for these examples. If you could notice, some basic ideas from African carving have been applied in Picasso's paintings. Motif appropriation is the least controversial among all forms. Rather than appropriating the entire style, artists have appropriated only basic ideas, and these basic ideas are denoted as motifs, which represent a motif appropriation.
Subject appropriation. Subject appropriation occurs when someone from one culture represents members or aspects of another culture. Many of Joseph Conrad's novels involve subject appropriation, since Conrad frequently wrote about cultures other than his own. Artists who engage in subject appropriation may employ only the artistic resources of their own culture. Let's have the example about Kinsella's stories entitled Born Indian. It was written by William Patrick Kinsella, who is born in Canada and also the one who published the work. He avoids publishing manuscripts in which the protagonist's experience in the world, by virtue of race or ethnicity, is substantially removed from that of the writer.
And that's it for today. Thank you for learning with us.
Sasamahan kita sa